Adjacent angles are very different from vertical angles. Adjacent angles are two angles that if they have a common side and a common vertex and do not overlap. So two angles are adjacent. If they have a common side, so for instance, these two angles are sharing C. If they have a common vertex, so these are sharing vertex B or point B, and they do not overlap. So there's no overlap between these two angles. So what is and what is not an adjacent angle? These are adjacent angles. They are sharing a vertex right here and also a side. These are not adjacent angles. They are sharing a vertex. We can see that right here. So we're talking about angles A and B, but they are not sharing a side because there is a whole nother angle in between. So these are not adjacent angles. These are also not adjacent angles. They only share a side. But the actual angles do not share a vertex. So this is not a vertex of the two angles because this is not creating an angle. So these are sharing a side and they are not adjacent angles. Once again, adjacent angles cannot overlap. So if they are overlapping, like this total angle of B, which is stretching from this line all the way up to this line, is clearly overlapping angle A. So these are not adjacent angles. So to practice, what of these pairs are not adjacent angles? Well, let's look. Are A and B adjacent? Yes, they share a vertex and they share a side. What about A and C? They share a vertex, but there's no side because we have a whole nother angle in between. So A and C are not adjacent. What about A and D? Same thing. They share a vertex, but they do not share a side. So A and D. B and C are adjacent. They share a vertex and a side. B and D, however, are not adjacent. They do not share a side. Once again, there's an angle in between. So B and D. And C and D are adjacent. So the three angles that are not adjacent are A and C, A and D, and B and D.